together. And again, when you look at this, it should flow nicely, but it doesn't. Like one number from one page doesn't match the number from another page because we're constantly getting updated numbers. And the one I'm most excited about, MDE just put the number out today. So I have like a hot new number for you guys. So these are the individuals who are so helpful to me in preparing this report. Our October kindergarten count is down. It is the lowest it's been in the past 10 years. However, the average of the past 10 years is 280. So we're not down that much. We were at 280 last year. So, and we had a real big kindergarten class in Big Fork last year. We have 13 up in Big Fork this year in kindergarten. So that really skews things. And looking at birth rates, we know birth rates are down over the last 20 years. It's 20%. That's big. So we know that our numbers change, and some of these are real interesting here. This is our current enrollment. So these numbers don't match. Like the kindergarten was 256 or 254. Now it's 256 because this is current. That was October 1st. October 1st is butt in the seat student. And that's what the MDE uses for a lot of reporting for us and calculating some of our age. So I thought it was really interesting to look at the progression of some of these classes as they move on. So our kindergarten class grew by 12, just those kids moving up. And Matt and I have said this before, but as our kids progress, our classes get bigger. And typically you would see kids dropping off because they can drop out. They have other options. But up here in Grand Rapids, kids stay in school, and we're getting more kids in our classes. From 9th to 10th is the only one that decreased, and that was by one student. So here's another number for you. Again, this is our October enrollment. This is the number that they use. They have this certain formula cut off, so it's a good benchmark to use. I can use it every year. But you can see our elementary is up almost 100 kids this year from last year. So that is very, very promising. Our overall enrollment, October 1st, is down 30, but it's up from 20, 21. So this number is a good, solid number. This is what I'm most excited about. And this is, as of today, MDE just released this report. They updated it. This is our free and reduced lunch percentage. So kids that turned in the educational benefit form and qualify for free and reduced, that helps our district get money. And I've been saying this for years. And right now we're at 3.6 million for next year. And that's 109% more than last year. Wow. So everyone in the district should be so proud of all their efforts. Like, I'm so proud. I feel like a cheerleader when I send out the emails to the principals. So I don't know if they get it. That will help significantly with our budget for next year. Well, it will by no means solve our budget problems, but it will help. This will also help with the amount of title funding and the amount of E-rate funding that we get, and we won't recognize that until next year. We can see what happens. Class sizes has been, in our enrollment department, a little bit of a struggle because we have great schools and people open enroll, as you'll see, or people move into the district. I can't tell you how many people move into the district or decide to enroll their kids like a week or 2 weeks before school. So, they may have like a second grader and a fifth grader, but one school's overfilled in one class and under in another. So it's a real delicate balancing act. And sometimes we just have to tell families, no, you can't go to that school. you can go to this other fabulous school, but you can't go to this one. So our highest class, average class size is 4th grade, and they're at 27.3 average for the schools in Grand Rapids. However, Big Fork has 17 kids in 4th grade. So when you average those out, it's a little less. This is the high school's trend, Grand Rapids High School, for the past 4 years. Or excuse me, it's not for the past 4 years. It's for the last year. You can see what they started with, kids that left, new kids that enrolled. Again, kids coming in after 10-1. 10-1 is that magic date, but I mean, we'll take kids anytime. They just are weighted differently. We get paid a different amount depending on when they start. So, and then at the bottom, you can see why the kids left. And just transferring to another school district is the most common reason. This is Big Fork. They also had 3 kids transfer all within the district, so that's great. One new one started and they graduated 25. Talking about open enrollment, and it is a big part of our district. Open enrolled families, sometimes those are the ones that we have to say, I'm sorry, we don't have room, you'll have to go to this fabulous school. This year, our open enrollment number, open enrolled in, is up 85 students. But the open enroll out is also up only by 30. So we are netting 168 students into our district. So we're getting paid more for 168 students. This is a good thing. The reason, I'll come back to the other one, is our district is the 3rd largest geographic district in the state of Minnesota, and we border 10 districts. So if you lived up in Squaw Lake, I don't think you would want to drive to Grand Rapids or Big Fork. You're driving by 2 other districts as you come. And that's the thing, like a lot of our kids do that. But we also have a lot of kids that open enroll in. The kids that have enrolled into the greatest amount come from the Greenway district. 506 this year are open enrolled in from Greenway. And you can see the other districts up there, very similar to in the past. Where our kids are going, well, we lost 236 kids to Greenway. So we do net about 200 with them. Deer River, Hill City, these all make sense because we border them. It's faster for parents to get their kids to school. It's closer. Their friends, maybe just across the street going to another school. The part that's hard about this is of the 627 kids that are open enrolling out, 57 of them are going to online charter schools. So they're not leaving us to go to another physical building to, experience the culture. They're leaving for an online school. So there's nothing we can do about it. We just accept it and do the best we can. Here's where our kids have gone. You can see other districts is by far the greatest. And you can see how those online programs have grown, especially since COVID.
Kara, where are those online programs? Is there a home that kind of where they're at, or?
Yeah. So looking at these, so there's the Minnesota Online.
Mm-hmm.
There is Minnesota Transitions. They have 45 kids going there. They're just all over. Most of those kids are open enrolling to Metro. There's like a Fergus Falls on there, I think. Cross Lake Online. So not Fergus Falls. Where I got that. So it's all over.
One of the things, if I can jump in, Kara, that I've noticed in the last couple of years, I mean, the Minnesota online statutes, if you will, have been on the books for a while. I'd say most districts didn't get involved in offering a diploma-based program. And that's changed. Some of it changed during COVID when a lot of districts implemented online programs. And I think especially if you look at like a Fergus Falls, they started an online program that a student can graduate from. And I'm seeing more and more marketing of those programs now, where before it was really, I think, schools developing those programs to serve their own kids as an alternative. Now I see more and more districts marketing their online programs to try to do this. And that's affecting enrollment in a lot of places. So the landscape is a lot more open and available now, I guess I'd say, than previously, and people are becoming more and more aware of it. We, as a school district, were part of the inception of an online program in 2006 or so, when that statute changed because the ISD schools knew that it would become a thing. And so we developed a program in our communities here that evolved and became Infinity Online. And we made a choice back then to not have it be diploma bearing, that it was really there to fill in the gaps for kids that had schedule problems or weren't able to access a course in their own district, but there was no intent to have a kid be able to graduate. So there's a lot of different dynamics at play here, and some of it's about marketing that really didn't exist before.
So speaking of the Infinity, how many kids do we have participating in that? I'm going to say through IASK, but because that's where it's through. Do we know?
I don't know how many students participate, and I know for some students it's a course, might be one class. For some students it might be more classes, but I don't know that I know the number.
The nature of Infinity is we do not lose those students as enrollment.
Mm-hmm.
We pay tuition for that, so it's actually financially a good deal for us.
Yeah.
The other things we kind of based that program around is really wanting to have. Going into it, we knew we wanted to have say in who was teaching those classes. So the majority of those teachers that teach for Infinity are local. We knew that the content was important. We wanted it to be rigorous, especially way back then. There were some real credit mill kind of programs out there, and we knew that we didn't want that. And not that it didn't come without some concern. I think there was a concern among staff from all the districts that it would mean jobs, and really that never played out. In some cases, it meant that we had staff that had been part-time that became full-time because they were teaching online courses to kids in other places. So I don't know that any district could say that it cost anyone a job. But it was about having our local people teach our local kids, keep those kids our kids, be able to control the rigor of the content. And I think it's been a good option for kids that were in a pinch.
So these numbers that we're seeing here, as far as the online stuff, is this something we should be concerned about? Have they increased over the last 3 years? Were they there prior to COVID? What's the future look like? And should we be planning something different in the future? And not that I want to make it about the finances, but in essence, there's some financial piece to this that those numbers are starting to creep up. How do we prevent that going forward? Do we need to prevent it?
Well, I think one of the challenges is that according to the law, we can't prevent a student from accessing a program like this. So if a parent comes in and says, I want to enroll my student to Fergus Falls Online, we can't say no. Even if we offer a program, even if we offer that exact same class, legally we can't say no. So it's challenging. We could start a diploma granting online program here but it wouldn't guarantee that those students would stay.
So we have what, 85 students online this year? What was the population of Big Fork School? Like 90? What was the,
Of the high school, yeah, it was
Yeah.
like 91.
so I mean, that's almost all the Big Forks. It would be like taking all the Big Fork students and
Students,
putting them
yeah.
online. That's significant. Nobody's fault. It just
Mhm.
is, it's
Yeah.
just significant. How do we, so it's my understanding too, that ICC, the money that we get follows the ICC student to those that decide to go to ICC, the money goes to ICC, is that correct?
We have a tuition agreement with ICC. So we pay $226 per credit per kid. If a kid goes over 15 credits, then their entire self gets moved and we lose the,
They would be considered out?
yep. So up until that point, we get paid for them.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
That helps.
So is there any thought at all going forward?
In terms of offering an online high school,
Yeah,
I mean, it came up a little bit last summer, but it wasn't something we felt like we had capacity to
you
do.
do.
Is that something that possibly IAS could want to look at?
It's something I think that it would be, whether it would be IASC starting again, or if it was IASC talking to Infinity Online to say, we're ready to do that now. I mean, I think financially, one way or another, it's got to make sense. Otherwise, we'll just be spinning our wheels a little bit for not a lot. So I think that would be the big thing to look at.
So what are the numbers in the other school districts that are part of IS school districts? So we got 90 some here, right?
Looks like
Or-
85.
Or, okay, yeah, close to. Do we know where Deer River's at, or Greenway, or Hill City, or Reamer, or Ashrock, Huron?
I don't know where they're at with like full-time enrollments like this.
Yeah.
I know that, I'm muddying the waters by talking about Infinity to some degree, but I know that Infinity per semester is enrolling 1,000 students. Now that could be one section during a day would be counted as one. So those aren't necessarily full-time students, but there's a lot in there. Would some of those want to continue or be part of a fully online program? Possibly. And I don't know, Ann might know how that works with activities and stuff like that. I don't know.
Do you have it broken down by grade level?
For the online,
Yeah.
I do here, but I can't do math in my head, Ben, so.
Something to learn over Christmas.
Sure.
I guess it is of interest that we do have a few students that have chosen online. It would be curious to better understand why they're making that choice. I think what we have to offer students is an incredible program. We're very, very strong. We make no apologies, but for some reason, it doesn't seem to fill the niche for certain students, and it's curious to wonder why.
I think if you look at those numbers and couple it with homeschools, you'll find a correlation there.
And that's fair.
But you have to look at the history of the family and, give them a call. But a lot of times that's courses or classes that the parents don't feel comfortable with. And so they'll do that and they get their computer and
Yeah, and we have quite a few online kids that come here and take band or take chemistry so we have to have tuition agreements with those charter schools so that we get paid for that period. But there's some things that they recognize and appreciate about our district. And Ben's right.
Charter schools have actually decreased. Charter schools really actually had decreased over time. I mean, they're pretty stable, but I think.
In terms of numbers?
In terms of numbers, charter schools look like they've maintained about 50, or a little lower.
So like Ben had mentioned, our homeschool enrollment is significant here, and coupled with the homeschool are the non-public schools. And adding this year was Lighthouse Christian Academy, and they have 57 kids. So that is new this year. We may have had 57 more kids in our district, but they're there. There's a question mark behind 7 because we don't know what grade they plan to go up to right now. We know where St. Joe's ends. So the number of students that attend those schools is 223 in our district. And then the homeschooled families or students, is 268. So it's quite a few, almost 500 kids altogether. And this is the grade levels just to see, where they are. Of course, we saw a huge increase in 21 with COVID. We had 181 homeschooled kids in fiscal year 20, 181. In fiscal year 21 with COVID, we went up to 304 students. Now we're down to 268, which is very consistent with last year. Part of the homeschool program is that they can come into the district and purchase supplies. So each student gets $81.31 for supplies. And we can also provide health services, or we're required to, and guidance services. So, and we do get aid. It's basically a reimbursement for what we pay out. And then as far as budgeting and going forward, it's very difficult to figure out what our enrollment is going to be. A dart on a wall, it's very difficult. So we look at attrition, we look at birth rates, we look at jobs, housing market. There's just so many factors that go into it. So right now we're just kind of, enjoying where we are and trying to figure out for next year.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you very much, Kara.
Yes,
Thank you.
Kara. That's
Thank you.
extremely informative.
All right, we will just take about a 5-minute recess and then we will start at 6:30 for our regular meeting. Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome on this blustery Monday evening. I'm looking for an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Pat, second by David. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We will start off with a really fun part about our fall sports recognition. Ann.
Great. Thank you very much, Superintendent Gross, Chair Barr, and school board members. Tonight is always fun when we get to recognize our amazing coaches and student athletes. If y'all want to start making your way up to the microphone, you're going to hear from, I got a couple coaches here and the students, because we know how much you like to hear from our amazing student athletes. Fall is so successful, not just in their activity and sport, but in the classroom too. You're looking at kids that are close to 4.0 students. So without further ado, I'm going to ask that Adrian and Gabby come talk about the cross-country season.
Hey guys, I was the captain of the cross-country team this year. We had a pretty good season. We got LSC championships. Well, we placed first at the LSC championship, and then we were runner-ups for state. So we went to state. I think that's pretty good. So yeah, that's all I really got to say.
My name is Gabby Daydodge. I've been captain of cross country for the past 2 years, and this year was a really eventful year in a good way, because not that we didn't have hope in the boys, but you know, we haven't been to state for quite a long time, so it was a good surprise though. But yeah, the season was super good. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
It was the first time in 57 years that we went to state. So
First time, I think it was 55 years or 57 years, but first time as a team. So that's a big deal. And back 55 years ago, it was a single class too. So now we're in 2 classes. So the next team, I will introduce Coach Bond, who was the Northeast Division Coach of the Year, and his captains are here.
Thanks, AC. Mr. Gross, School Board, thank you very much. This past fall was an incredibly successful one. I'll talk about some of the things on the field and then off the field as well. Our young men finished the regular season undefeated, which was the first time since 1980 that has happened here. We had 6 players named to our all-district team. Football's in districts, not conferences anymore. 3 of them are here. Ethan Florek, Wyatt Christensen, Aiden Chandler. Ethan, Aiden, Wyatt are all here. They were all first team all districts. Owen Glenn, Chris Hoover, and Caden Metzger were also named to the first team all district. We had 2 players named to the Duluth News Tribune all area team. That's put together by the DNT. That was Owen Glenn and Wyatt Christensen. We had 2 players participate in the Minnesota Vikings All-Star Game, which is the first time that we've officially had that since, I think, 2010. The game in 2020 was canceled. That was Owen Glenn and Grant Chandler. And Grant Chandler is a fun story. He is a soccer player, and he played both soccer and football this year. I had him in class, and Coach Gunderson had him in class, and he had talked about wanting to kick, and we said, sure, come on out, and worked with him a little bit. It was a lot of fun working with him. And then, off the field, one of the most important things and honors that we have, Ethan Florek was named to the academic all-state team as well for Class 4A. There's 16 players in the state that are named to that. Ethan Ethan earned that. We had an incredible amount of community support and forged a lot of new partnerships. We had another successful victory day. At each of our home games, we give away a community award called the Lead Blocker Award, just to people who've made an impact in our community and support our youth. This year's recipients were Pat Weber, our former activities secretary, Wayne Roscoes, Pat Pollard, and Kurt Ogle. Past winners include Lee Lonson, Lee Alto, Shelley Steer, Jim Schneeweiss, Dan Jenks. Miss Nuring was a winner in 2020. Sue Etste at Second Harvest, Brian Nicholson, Lenny Brown, and Bob Donnell. So we give one of those away each game, and it's a really fun way to recognize our community members who make a difference. So, gentlemen.
Hi, I'm Ethan Floric. I'm quarterback for the football team. Just want to say we had a really great, fun season. 8-0, like Coach said, and yeah, I had a really fun time. So.
I'm Aiden Chandler. I was a senior running back, and I just think it was really nice what all the coaches did for us this year as expanding the team, and we really got a lot of guys out on the field, and it was really fun. So, thank you.
I'm Wyatt Christensen. I was a senior lineman. You know, we had a good season, 8-0. Didn't finish the right way, but you can't win them all.
Aiden just recently committed to continuing his education and football career at St. Scholastica as well, which is an incredible improvement or an incredible accomplishment. We just want to thank you guys all for your support. You know, I know it takes a lot, both outwardly and behind the scenes, and thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. Good job.
Thanks. Okay, next up, I want to call Ada Jackson to come talk about swim. Coach Rousey is out of town and couldn't make it, but we certainly want to acknowledge our swim and dive team. Ada's a senior on that team.
Okay, I'm Ada Jackson on the swim and dive team. And first of all, we have 3 amazing captains who couldn't be here today. Sayla Smith, Sophia Verkey, and Mackenzie Mooster, our dive captain. We had an amazing season. It's been an amazing couple years. We have won the section 3 times now, so that's amazing. And the team has really grown up, and every year new people step up, and all the younger girls are working hard every day to replace the girls that left the year before. So we won the conference meet. It was great. We sent, I think, 10 girls to state, which is amazing, including 2 in diving. Sophia Verkey finished 4th place in the 100 backstroke, or 6th place? 6th place in the 100 backstroke. So that makes her all-state. We had 2 all-state relays and 1 in the top 16. Everyone did amazing at the state meet. It was a great experience. We also got to go to True Team as a whole team, so that's always fun. We get to go down and we get to stay at a hotel, and it's really good team bonding for the weekend. I think that's it, but it was a great season.
Thank you. And the girls swim, I believe you won the silver academic.
Yeah.
There's certain criteria, so congrats, Ada, and way to come up and speak for your team. Next, I'd like to introduce our soccer coach, Brooke Moses, who is the state AA Coach of the Year, and her girls. Come on up.
Okay, so girls soccer also had an amazing year. I got my notes. We finished our season 12-4-1, and for reference, when these guys were in 7th grade, we finished 4-9-1, so that's huge. During preseason, our team volunteered at Second Harvest Food Bank, giving new student tours at our gyms and helping out teachers in their classroom. So we really had a big focus preseason, practicing together and then giving back to the community. Our 3 seniors were our 3 captains. Abby and Taylor are 2 of those, and the 3rd one couldn't make it tonight. They just put a lot of hard work and dedication into this program in the last 6 years. And when they were in 7th grade, Ann told us, your program's dying. You're not going to make it. You need more girls. And we recruited and we practiced. And yeah. Abby right here, Abby, give a little wave, was our highest goal scorer and assister. Taylor, her twin sister, was the 2nd highest goal scorer and assister. And Natalie, our other captain, was the 3rd. JV's record was 10-1-2. Last year it was 5-8-1. So all around the program's getting a lot better. We finished first seed in our conference, which is the first time in school history that that's ever happened. We also hosted the section finals at home for the first time in school history. We had a really great turnout of community members there. It was, I think, 18 degrees, and we had so many people there cheering us on. After a great game, we ended the section runner-ups, but it was really a great experience to finally have a trophy in the trophies thing in the high school. We had 20 players receive the Academic Spotlight Award. 5 players were named to the Lake Superior All Conference. That's Taylor and Abby and Natalie, and 2 juniors, Jessica Lofstrom and Callie Matson. All of our three seniors were awarded the MVP Offense Award. All 3 seniors were selected to play in the Senior All-Star Game in Duluth, and Maggie Potter and I coached that, which was really fun. We've never done that before. And then Abby Berkey was named as an All-State player, and that's the first girls soccer player ever in history to do that. She was also named the Duluth Area All-Player of the Year. DNT did a video segment and an article on her, and Abby's going to be continuing her soccer career at McAllister, so that's exciting.
I'm Taylor Berkey, and over the years, it's just been really great to grow up in this program, and it's definitely grown a lot in the past few years. As Brooke said, this was like one of our best seasons, and just being runner-up in the section was a really good experience. And then my favorite memory from this year was probably winning against Cloquet in overtime, just because we've never beat them before. So, yeah.
Yeah, to go off, so I'm Abby Berkey, and to go off what Taylor said, just growing up through the program and seeing how much it's grown and the support that the community has brought to it. Like Brooke was saying, that how many people showed up at our finals game and just getting a home game, and it's been great to see the progress and growth that we've had.
Aren't they all just awesome student athletes? I love them all. Just one more program I want to talk about, and they are not available to come tonight, is our girls volleyball program. They also were Lake Superior Conference champions, section champions, took 4th place in the state. They had 2 all-state players, Brea LaPlante and Lindsay Racine, and Duluth News Tribune all-area was Brea LaPlante. So these kids are absolutely amazing, and they're we have amazing coaches, and fall was so fun that we're hoping that it all trickles to the winter and we have as much success in their activities and also in the classroom. So thank you very much for your time. And do you have any questions on any of these student athletes or coaches?
I don't have any questions, but just congratulations to coaches who were recognized for all the work that you guys have done. And seriously, one of my favorite videos was when you guys beat Cloquet and watching you all jump across the field. That was seriously one of the best social media videos I'd seen in a long time. It was fun. Congratulations. That's amazing. It's great.
Madam Chair, I'd add a note. Congratulations on very, very many tremendous successes here. All the people here, your colleagues and friends, coaches, and everyone. In addition to which, the academic success of all of you is really worth noting. It's not just being great physical specimens and having great records, but having great records in the classroom as well. It's really important. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Congratulations, you guys.
I'll also add to one of the reasons we got to have the soccer finals here is because of the turf.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, that is one of the reasons, because we didn't have it before, so we were not able to hold them so late in the season. All right, we will move on to 4B, field trip request for Panama in the spring of 2024. Welcome, Ms. Pierce.
I don't know if I need to hold this or not. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Should I hold? Yeah. So I'm Senora Pierce, Rachel Pierce. I'm the mom to the cute little elves back there as well. So if
I
you
was
see me
gonna say, do we
giving-
get to see them? Because they were so cute.
So if you see me giving them a few looks, it's like, you know. And Bruce, no, you can't come. No. So I'm just here to request permission to travel with current 6th and 7th grade students to Panama and Central America, spring of 2024. And I did hand out, or Julie did, that is, a little three informational pieces about the trip, just kind of highlighting a few pieces. Like I said, current 6th and 7th grade students. I would like to offer the trip this coming January so that families had enough time to save. There's actually monthly payments that you could do. I've requested 2 different timeframes potentially of traveling either in April of 2024 and or June of 2024. I'm kind of, I guess the prices aren't a huge difference, but the conflict might be the amount of days that students would be missing from school, and that does bother me. But if the flip side is, I feel like I'm expanding the classroom, and it's the best way to learn. I lived in Costa Rica when I was in college, and I'm gonna be honest, I learned more in 5 months than I did in 5 years. In college with Spanish, that is, because I was fully immersed. And so this trip goes from, you know, speaking the language to dancing to eating to just, I mean, getting on an airplane, knowing what a passport is, learning what that is, dealing with money from a different country. And I think of ways that I can expand the classroom, and I think this is it. And these kiddos are young, and so I would be looking at bringing parents along as well, hopefully, and or additional adults from our school. And I think Mr. Northard has created an awesome program at the high school. So I think it's like a feeder program, getting the kids excited to continue traveling as they get into the high school as well. So short and sweet. I do have a 5-minute video if you're interested. EF Tours would be the program that I would be traveling with. And so if you want to take a peek at that really quickly, like I said, it's 5 minutes, short and sweet.
Absolutely.
Our idea to bring you here is to give you the opportunity to discover a beautiful culture. Not just to be a tourist, but be a traveler. You guys gonna see a lot of things that are super familiar to you, but also a lot of things that are not. And that's the beautiful thing of traveling, getting to discover new things. Once we leave home, everything is gonna be different.
Oh my God. This is incredible.
Since this is the first time for everybody in Panama, let me give you a little introduction of this beautiful place. Right here, we have 1700s, 1800s, the roots of this amazing country. Modern Panama there. It's like really 2 worlds.
History turning into modern day, all within the same skyline. It's like you're time traveling.
Are you guys familiar with the term biodiversity? That means the diversity of organisms, but also their relationships in the different environments. And that's exactly what the rainforest is all about. Guys, sorry to interrupt you. Come, hurry up, hurry, everyone.
What is it?
It's a titi monkey. Oh, it's super hard to find. Right here, see one right here?
Wow, this is right out of my bio textbook. You know, it seems like some exotic animal. It's literally right here in front of us.
The good thing about this is we can have the classroom outside.
To me, visiting a country like Panama, you definitely want to see how things run.
the Spanish people wanted the indigenous to believe in their gods. So they created this kind of mask to scare the indigenous and to make them believe in their religion.
That's pretty much the origin of all the carnivals around the world. There's no carnival without music. All of the colors and the masks and the devils dancing and the drums. And everything starts getting very, very surreal.
You're so good at that.
Good dancers.
Right now, I'm in a super beautiful farm slightly outside Chichre, Panama. I really appreciate how everything is so dependent on each other. You appreciate the nature, you make use of the nature, you give back to nature. That's a really good cycle that I've really appreciated being here.
In school, you might just learn about the canal, but it's a lot more than that. It's the people, like the families, like the biodiversity. It's a lot that we've learned so far.
It's also just so fun.
The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna continue with our wonderful journey through history and time. We're gonna have the chance to see one of the most colorful cultures of Panama. The first inhabitants of Panama, they're gonna be opening themselves to us. They're gonna offer exactly who they are. So we need to embrace that, we need to accept it, and also we need to understand how it works.
I mean, just completely immersing yourself in a different culture. It's something that I feel like everybody should do.
It's better for someone to go into something like not knowing what we're going to expect, and then once you do it, then you grow that new pair of eyes, you gain that experience, and you overall develop a sense of what we're actually doing here and what you're actually experiencing for yourself.
This experience has been as different from my own life as it could possibly be. And even though it's so out of my comfort zone, I'm so comfortable here.
You will always remember this trip, right, for the rest of your life. You might not remember, third period on Thursday in chemistry class, but you'll remember Panama.
Powerful statement. Yes, I agree with that. That is something you will remember for the rest of your life, for sure. Traveling, hands down, I can't teach those things. So like I said, even just teaching the kids what a passport is and getting on an airplane, oftentimes they have never even done that or heard of it. So I guess questions for me?
Questions from the
Which date do you prefer?
Great question. I would love to go in April, if I'm being honest, but then if it's, there's an issue with missing so many class days, then I would be happy to switch it to June.
And then how long is the trip for?
8 days.
8 days?
8 days.
How many kids are you hoping to bring along?
I would love to have 35 people going in total. That would allow 6 spots for free travelers. As far as staff members going, administration, whatever that might look like. This would be my 5th trip traveling internationally with students. I had traveled 3 times when I was teaching in the cities, 1 time in Big Fork when I was pregnant with the middle elf, to Costa Rica, and then this one. So.
Madam Chair, more so a question for Matt. Do we need to be specific on the date when we approve this, or is it okay to leave it open?
I don't know that we would necessarily have to be specific on the dates. I was just thinking about April and MCAs and things like that, and not that has to be the barrier, but something we can talk through. If it's later in April, it wouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think we'd have to lay down a date today.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the request.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mindy. Any discussion?
I think it's a great opportunity.
Great idea.
Super opportunity.
Thank you, Rachel, for
Thank
coordinating this
you.
opportunity for our students.
Make me tear up. This is exciting for the kids.
I'd love to
So-
see someone they get back.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none. You're on your way, Pam.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm sure you want us to get out of here soon. They all do.
No, no, they are very good.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. What a great opportunity. All right, moving on to number 5, the principal report from East Rapids Elementary. Principal Goodwin.
Thank you, Mr. Gross, School Board, for letting us represent East Rapids Elementary School. For those of you that haven't met Dr. Ryan Siegley yet, he is an amazing wingman to East Rapids Elementary School. This is the perfect fit for our building. So, without any further ado, we'll go through a short slideshow, kind of a snapshot of where East is at today and where we're going. It takes a village, and you'll see a list on this slide of everybody that's involved in working with our kids to build a program that sees success in every facet that we can possibly provide. And it can't be understated that everybody in all these groups, we are working together to make it happen. Putting, not to sound selfless here, but admin at the bottom of that list is very intentional. We believe that it takes everybody to do it. It's not coming from us. We try and provide leadership, but it takes everybody. Here's our counts. 675 students. Our 102 staff count, that doesn't account for our itinerant programs that we have in the building as well. We have a lot of adults working for our students. I'm not sure why this slide didn't update, but 5 sections of K, 5 first, 5 second, 4 third, 4th, and 5th. The student counts in each one of those classrooms is in the mid to upper 20s.
Bruce, can I just interrupt there? I apologize because I was going to say something during Kara's enrollment presentation, just so the board's aware too. I'm not sure if it's happened before, and Kara mentioned it a little bit, but I think it's important for the board to be aware. You know, when we were doing this enrollment work this summer, we had to say no to our community in some cases. I'm not sure if that got to you, but if it didn't, it could have. Where we were having to say no, I think Karen mentioned, but we had to say no to people who wanted to send their kids to East or to Cohasset or to West because we couldn't create enrollment dynamics that would have been negative for that school. So, and we're going to have to continue to do that. That's who we are right now. So it took a lot of work by Kara and that enrollment department, and they had to be on the end of some people that weren't very happy about it because in some cases it was really convenient for families to do something other than what we were able to do. But, you know, Bruce talked about those enrollment numbers. We wanted to do whatever we could to keep those class sizes manageable or as manageable as possible. And so we had to do some of that. So sorry, Bruce. Break your mojo there. But.
That provided a perfect opportunity to update the slide.
That worked out good.
Perfect. Our building learning leadership team, shared leadership model. We believe that and that strongly. And again, it takes more than just Ryan and I to do this, and we believe strongly in our teacher leaders to help us drive our learning initiatives and to solve problems. And we've developed a really close relationship. Our meetings are vibrant and they're candid and it's amazing. We're learning a lot together as a team, and I just can't say enough about that. Our PBIS team, positive behavior is our belief that we help kids by modeling good behavior. That the days of consequences, the change behavior, they're gone. And students' behavior is a learned thing, and we teach positive behavior, and we do that through our PBIS team, our Thunderhawk tickets, daily recognition of students that I announce on the announcements every day. Students are receiving those daily, and they add up to the school year. Our end of the week Super Hawks for students that have done just a little bit extra, and we make a big deal about that. And then our classroom awards, you'll see the Hallway Hero Award there, and our classrooms get recognized for doing positive, following the positive behavior initiative that we have, our expectations of being respectful, responsible, saving time. What's new this year? We have a new first grade teacher, our assistant principal, a new music teacher, and we have some movement in our speech program as well. They've been great additions to our school, and it's been great. Our art space, we lost art, and that was that was a big hit for us, because art, music, gym, Ed, those are important pieces to our school, but we're making we haven't given up on it. So we've enlisted Sue Martinetto, one of our ESPs, who's also just an amazing art person, to kind of guide us in our art space, to be that advisor there. So she has it completely outfitted for each grade level, lesson plans, so that teachers can sign that space up and use the art room to enhance our school. Our makerspace is a spot that we want science, technology, engineering to happen in, but it's also a space that we want to reward students with. So we've also provided a space for students or teachers to check out to reward students, again, for good behavior. So we're rethinking these spaces. We have a new intervention schedule, our title and access teachers. We went to the drawing board with our regular ed teachers to carve out time so that students can receive those services in a more efficient way. That's been super great, and teachers have really liked how we're doing that. And then our building level routines in general, just rethinking how we do things to make use of our day. A big one was our end of the day, how we load our buses and how parents pick up our students. We rethought that entire part of the day, and that's been a really good change too. Our goals. The teaching and learning model drives what we do in the school, starting with environment for learning. It is a strong fundamental belief of ours that the cornerstone to a successful building is our culture, our climate, and the relationships that we build within the building. After that, everything falls into place. We have goals around each one: standards and curriculum, evidence-based practices, and data for learning. And we are in each one of those. You'll see the word continue, because we are never stopping our work to be better in each one of those rungs. I'm going to turn over the next slide to Dr. C.
Yeah, so the next few I'll talk a little bit about. It's very quantitative, a lot of numbers. What we don't see in these next slides is the qualitative piece. And something that I'm really proud of East Rapids for is the qualitative piece. You walk into that building and it feels special. And you see it in the kids, you see it in the staff, and there's a sense of belonging in that building, and I'm very proud to be a part of that. When it comes to teaching and learning, that's the heart of what we do. That's who we are. Our Tier 1 core instruction, we have 675 students in our building. Our goal is providing Tier 1 core instruction for those students. We narrow down our scope to our Tier 2 students, students that need a little additional support. Currently, we have 274 students receiving reading interventions. We have 36 students in our building receiving math interventions. Our special ed department has 115 students, and that's not including our students that are speech. This is really small on this screen, so we'll try to share this with you. But I do want to just talk through some of the numbers, a couple of things that stand out as I look at this. This is data that talks through or walks us through reading in 2nd grade through 5th grade. The piece that stands out, if you look at the black bar going across on each one of those graphs, that's kind of our benchmark of where we want students to be and beyond. The students that are kind of below that are in the pinks and purple, the pinks, we want them to become purples. That's really the goal. We're really proud. We look at like our 2nd grade data from last year, from fall to spring. We had a growth from 43% to 70%. Awesome data. We look at our 3rd grade, very similar, 56% to 66%. We're looking for a 6 to 8 percentage point growth from fall to spring. And so if you look at something like our 2nd grade, where we're close to 30% growth, that's we're gonna be really proud of that.
This slide is super important because as our teams are looking at this data, our goal is to shrink the pink, increase the purple, and to OODA loop around what are the practices that are happening in our classroom to make that happen. And to constantly be asking the question, what can we do better? What are we doing now? How can we improve? And this drives that never-ending discussion in our teams and with us.
Our Tier 2 interventions, I mentioned that we have 274 students. That's a lot of students receiving Tier 2 reading interventions. It calls for multiple staff working with students throughout the day. We have 4 licensed teachers doing reading interventions, 3 ADSA CSPs, 3 AmeriCorps members. It's really a sight to see how this works when you're on the ground and you're seeing these, 7 to 10 staff pushing into one grade level at a time. And there are students, let's say it's from 1st grade, there are students from 1st grade all coming out and working with their interventionists while other great things are happening with the gen ed teacher in the classroom with the students that are still in the classroom. In math, we have 1 licensed teacher, and that licensed teacher is serving 36 students. Currently, we have 57% of our Tier 2 students making progress toward grade level expectations. Research tells us that we want to be around 60%. And so we're okay with our number of 57. We want to keep getting better. We wanted to show you what a typical kind of day-to-day graph would look like for a student that would be in an intervention group. If you look at the dots that are on this graph, that's a progress monitoring data point. Those happen once a week. And so a 1st grade student that's receiving interventions will have a progress monitoring session, and then we are able to kind of chart where they're at that current moment. So this graph is showing the growth of a student that is currently at East Rapids and where they're projected to be. If you look at the bottom line with the smaller dots, that is the projected, the typical growth of a student that was placed at this certain spot at the beginning of the year. And then you can see the darker dotted line above that, that is the actual projected growth of this student. So the goal is for our student to be within that 40th percentile by the end of the school year. This kiddo is going to be there like right now. And we're really, really proud of that. And this isn't an anomaly. This is showing up in a lot of our students' data. It feels good as teachers to see growth like that. But really, if we're thinking about a kid and their learning and how they're feeling about their learning, it feels good for them too.
This next slide is our office discipline referrals and how it relates to our positive behavior initiative. The old way of looking at referrals has been traditionally negative. Discipline referral is a negative event. A student has made a mistake and it results in a consequence. That's a complete shift now on rethinking this. One of our initiatives this year was to increase the accuracy of this data. And one way we did that was we simplified the process for teachers to enter information to us so we can get it in the system, making it easier for the teacher to enter the data. They're more likely to do it with fidelity. It comes to us, we get it in the system, it's more accurate. And we're seeing that this year. We're about a little over 100 referrals more than we were last year at this time. And that's okay because it's giving us more accurate data. And our PBIS team looks at this data, identifies areas in our day or areas of need that we can now put services towards. And we're doing that by forming social skills groups, one-on-one check-ins, a myriad of things that we're doing to bring those numbers down. And we just had a team meeting with our second grade. Today, second grade this year has been a real high grade for behavior referrals. And we've seen a huge drop in those referrals in the last few weeks because we're starting to see the work that our teams are doing come together to help drop these referrals. So this is a super, even though it says office discipline referrals and it can be seen negative, it's actually really positive. We're proud of so many things. First and foremost, our students. Our students, you visit East, you see students with smiles on their faces, working hard, and it's just an awesome thing to experience every day. I want to just extend the invite to come visit anytime you have time to do that. Our staff, when I left the building today to come here, there were still staff in our parking lot working. And it shows their dedication. We had 3 staff last week take on their initial Orton-Gillingham training that we were able to offer. And we had a bunch of snow days last week. Things were happening. These teachers were dedicated, no complaint, and worked through that training, and it was really cool. But that's just indicative of what our staff is doing all the time. Our PBIS initiative continues to get better. You can see that box there. That's the years we're just at Christmas, and we're going to be jamming those tickets in there. We're just going to keep jamming them in there. Our BLLT team, just a great group of leaders in our building, working to improve our building. One of our goals this year was to have our school have more family nights, just bring families in. We're going to get the balls out, watch a movie, popcorn. We've had 2 of those, and we intend to have a bunch more before the year's over. And just having families come into the school, we're a community school, that's what we're there for. And our PTC, they're amazing. They work really hard to support us, and I've yet to see them say no to anything that our teachers have been asking, so it's really cool. What do we need? Guest teachers. We have a shortage, and as with when I ask teachers, if we have a problem, come with a solution. That was the only one I came up with. An advertising campaign in the newspaper. I don't know. A big old page that says best teachers. Whenever I meet somebody, I'm like, do you have a 4-year degree? And then our budget, just to continue thinking outside the box to help us in our budget. It was really, it was awesome to see that data on the free and reduced lunch stuff. That's super hopeful. Keeping our class sizes low, it's just so critical. And student riddle. I'm not gonna let you guys go without a student riddle. So you guys ready? This just came today. A train goes choo choo choo, and a teacher goes, spit your gum out. I told that to Olivia. She just was like, "You're gonna tell that, John." It's about the delivery. Any questions?
Questions from the
Comments?
Madam Chair. Bruce, you mentioned that you have some roles being filled by TOSAs. Could you talk just a little bit about those?
So our special education department is blessed with two amazing gals, Tracy Hutchison and Amy Luke, who are at our beck and call whenever our staff need help or we need help. We reach out to them to just help brainstorm ways that we can better support our special education students. And also a big part of what they do to help us out is bridging that communication gap that sometimes happens between regular education and special education. But it's a continuing, ongoing support that they give us, and it's super valuable.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you for a great report. I was particularly impressed with seeing the data on how you're working with students that need a little extra help and getting them across that line. Those are very, very encouraging numbers, and thank you for doing that work. I should also just let you know, I do stop by the school from time to time just to poke my nose in, and I think the one piece that you have in your school is there's a culture in the school that it's warm, it's inviting, it's friendly, it's encouraging, it's uplifting. It's a joy to walk in to your school building. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ben.
When you're intervening with the student, you had that one chart where it started out slow and then really picked up. What kind of measurement things do you do when you get your group together to talk about a child?
So we start the year with universal screening. We want 100% of our students being assessed. We use FastBridge to do that in both math and reading. We have ongoing assessments happening as well, month to month, in what we call STAR for grades 2 through 5. In an intervention group, the progress monitoring happens primarily through FastBridge. It's one-on-one with that interventionist. Depending on the intervention that's being run, it will determine the assessment that's being used.
Okay.
So to give an example, a lot of our third graders would be working on reading fluency. And so the assessment being used from week to week would be a fluency assessment.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Appreciate your work.
Yeah, I would
You
just,
here?
yeah. My piece is data makes you vulnerable. And that's really good leadership. I mean, that's right. I mean, it doesn't always say good things, but I love the way that you frame it. And it's a way to do something different, better, who's doing something really well. And that is really good leadership. And I want to thank you for that, both of you, Dr. Sigley and Principal Goodwin. Thank you for your vulnerable leadership.
I think it's worth saying too, just, the data that Bruce and Dr. Siegler were talking about is data. I mean, we've mentioned this in Ryan's report and Jenshi. This is reading data that's coming up. We're not going to see this on MCAs really, these new approaches, the investment in these interventions. We're not going to see this on MCAs until those kids get into those really assessed grades. So till they get to third grade, till they get to fourth grade, till they get to fifth grade. We're seeing some of that now, but I think as we progress and as our kids are coming through this whole system, having had that intensity, I think that's when we'll really start to see the MCA results look different. And, that's what we're judged on in many cases. I think when our principals talk about being able to see growth of 30% in a year, that doesn't make the newspaper generally, right? MCAs don't talk about where kids started. All they talk about is where they ended up on one day. So the data that our principals are sharing is showing where did these kids start when they walked in the building, and how far did we get them over the course of the year? And you look at a kid's trajectory being changed. That's powerful stuff there. We're having kids grow at a rate faster than it would be predicted that they grow. So there's a lot of nuance to data, and I think relying on one test on one day is a foolish way to judge a system or a school district. It'd be like judging a store based on sales on one day. There's a lot of other days there. There's a lot of stories and nuance there. But that's the environment we're in. So we're going to keep at it.
And just to add one last piece to what Mr. Gross talked about is one of our kindergarten teachers mentioned it in a meeting, and data, we think in numbers, but those numbers represent students, and those students have stories. So we can get caught up in the looking at the data points, and we need that to drive what we're doing, but we always have to keep it in perspective that these are our students, and they need help in every possible way. So I'm just going to keep that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
I appreciate these principal updates, and
more so this year than last year and the year before, of sharing the data with us. It's important for us as board members to know, but more importantly, Matt touched on it. It's something that the local media or the news radio station, they don't pick up on it and actually tell the story on what's actually happening in our schools and the progress that's being made in a short period. And that trajectory is skybound, right? And back to Matt's comment, the MCAs is all we hear about. So I appreciate the principals coming forward and sharing the information with us, getting it out into the community. It's a story that needs to be told, and it continues to need to be told annually. Back to David's comment, great things are happening here, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 6, effective and efficient systems, district facility update with Sean Lewis. And I believe Sean's joining us remotely. Is he on?
Yes. Hi, good evening, Madam Chair. Can you hear me
Welcome,
okay?
Yes.
Super. Always my pleasure to join you and participate in the school board meeting. It's fun to hear the updates this evening. Have been a pleasure to hear while I'm waiting. While I share my screen here real quick, I'm here to share a brief update for the Big Fork School Project, Grand Rapids High School Project, and the Southwest Project. And we'll also be recommending contracts for the Grand Rapids High School HVAC improvement project tonight as well. It's an illustration of where each of the projects are at. For the Big Fork Big Fork School Project, we're right here working on procurement, shop drawing review, and planning. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. So that's where we're at right now for that project, especially Grand Rapids High School. We're just wrapping up analyzing bids, and like I mentioned, we'll be recommending contracts for that project tonight. Southwest Renovations is right in the middle of bidding the project. So segue into the Southwest Renovations project. That one's been moving right along. If you can remember, at the last school board meeting, we were here to recommend approval of the construction documents for bidding, and the board meeting before that, we recommended approval of design development documents. So we've really been moving right along again, kudos to the facility steering committee and helping to facilitate that moving right along, and the design team working really hard to keep that marching along. And bidding documents subsequently have been published out to the community, ad for bids sent to the Grand Rapids Herald. We've also submitted it for state plan review. In the meantime, it's actually the critical path speaking schedule nomenclature. That's critical path of the project, because as soon as we can go through the plan review process with the state and get permitting, we're hoping to start construction right away, as mentioned down here, in end of January or beginning of February. We also have a pre-bid conference tomorrow at the Southwest Building in the morning with the contractors, and where we'll walk through a brief summary of the project, and then walk through the building with them and explain the project and field any initial questions that they have. Presently, we have the bid opening day scheduled for January 5th, so that's coming up quickly, and that's also exciting to see that come together. And like I mentioned, looking to start that project right away, start construction right away, end of January, beginning of February, pending the state plan review process. And then we'll move right into the parking lot, constructing the new parking lot in the summer of next year, 2023. Big Fork School project. All the contracts have been issued. We're focusing on submittals and procurement, making sure that we have all this equipment and materials on time. We recently also held a pre-construction meeting with the contractors at the school and walked through the different areas there just to make sure we're all in alignment. And again, have a good plan in place there. Planning to start in middle of May, pending road restrictions and weather and frost. And moving to the high school, that's really the meat of our update tonight. The ICS and the Facility Steering Committee is recommending 4 contracts to be awarded as soon as possible. The recommendation letter was shared with the Facility Steering Committee and the school board. It should be in your packet there with you. And again, as a reminder, we opened bids back on November 1st. So our window of bids being valid is closing in about 2 weeks. A little less than 2 weeks, pardon me. And with that, you can see in the letter, we're also recommending that we award alternates number 1 and 3. Alternate number one is the air handling unit and some of the work involved for the band room. And alternate number 3 is for the weight room. That's for improving air quality, indoor air quality in those spaces, as well as the base bid, which had several other areas in the high school. The overall contract values for the 4 contracts combined is $9,079,330, and that will bring our overall total project amount to $11,460,437. So an updated bid summary. We've discussed this at the last 2 board meetings, as well as we've been working through, as a steering committee, been working through decisions on how to move forward with this project. This is an updated summary. I have the areas that we are recommending to include in the contracts highlighted green. So again, the base bid for these 4 contractors plus alternates number 1 and 3. And again, the total amount of a little over $9 million for contracts, and then the total overall project valuation is $11,460,437. Our new overall budget will look like this. This has the contractor values plugged in here, and also some of the additional funding that has been discussed that we're adding into the project, that the school's adding into the project. And again, the recommendation letter that's in your board packet should look like this. And we've got Hawk Construction for general construction, Fire Pro for fire suppression, Thielen Mechanical for mechanical, and Parson Electrical for the electrical work scope. So there'll be 4 contracts that we're recommending tonight on the next agenda bullet point. Short and sweet update tonight. A lot of good things happening, and we're definitely gaining some excellent momentum as we start looking into 2023 and get ready for a whole lot of things that'll be happening. Southwest project will be getting into construction, assuming bidding goes well and all of that plays out nicely, we're optimistic that it will. We'll be getting into that project right away, and then we'll start the Big Fork Improvement Project in the spring. southwest parking lot, and then starting phase 1 of the high school this summer once school is out for summer break. And then again, phase 2 is in the summer of 24. Also working through Minnesota state plan reviews for Big Fork and the high school and Southwest. All 3 projects are different phases of that part of the workflow as well. And our facility steering committee, again, kudos to them. We are meeting on a regular basis. It's roughly about every other week. The holiday season, we had to reschedule some meetings and things just to stay ahead of the different steps that we're working through, like this one here tonight. But again, that's been very productive. And we also meet weekly, typically weekly, with our design teams too. Any questions at all tonight that I can help with?
Board members, any additional questions? Nope. Everybody's shaking their head, Sean. No, I think we're good.
All right, super.
Yeah. And so we're looking for approval on the HVAC project bids. Can I bid them? Can we do them all together, or do I have to do them one at a time? I can do them all together. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the HVAC project bids at the Grand Rapids High School.
So moved.
Moved by Ben. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Pat. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, if I can, just to, the facility steering committee spent a lot of time sorting out how to manage this project specifically because of the challenges with bids and things like that. I think a couple important notes. One is that the focus was really about getting our oldest gear out, replaced. So this project will take care of all the air handling units that are 50 years old or older, which we have a bunch. And then those alternates represent sort of like high impact or high return investment there. And Kara's been working with Ehlers to make sure that there's not a huge financial impact on our plans moving forward. So that's how that shook out that way. That's why those are the pieces of that building that are getting taken care of. It'll address the most significant deficiencies in that building when it comes to air quality. So it'll be good.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Again, these air handlers are older than me.
Yeah. They didn't even have air handlers when I grew up. Great work, committee.
Yeah, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Madam Chair, if I can kind of out of order here, it's probably worth stating again, the funding that we're using for this project can only be used on facilities. So I don't know that we can say those kinds of things enough.
You're right. Thank you.
I just thought I mentioned one of our early 2000 graduates is part owner of Thielen.
Really?
Yeah. He didn't go to college. He went to vocational school and worked his way up to that. So I think that's
great. That's awesome.
one of the Riley twins.
Yeah, Mr. Riley, Ben?
Yep.
Yeah. He's actually the individual I've been working closely with in preparation for the recommendation here. So yeah. Yep. So that's kind of some fun intel.
Yep.
Awesome. It is really neat. It's kind of commonplace. All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Sean.
Madam Chair and School Board. Mr. Gross, have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
And have a Merry Christmas for those of you that I don't see before then.
Merry Christmas to you. All right, moving on to 6D, approve minutes of the 12/5/22 World's Best Workforce Special Meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Pat. Do I have a second? Second by David. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to 6D, approve minutes of the 12/5/22 Truth and Taxation Special Meeting. Do I have a motion?
So move, David.
Moved by David. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mindy. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Minutes are approved. Moving on to 6E, approve minutes of the 12/5/22 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Pat, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to 6F, approve the November 2022 claims in the amount of $5,634,326.76. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ben.
Second, David.
Second by David. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to the consent agenda. Welcome, Casey.
Thank you. Good evening, board. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have Jorge Badia, ESP resignation, Steve Johnson, track and field coach resignation, Diane Levsey, bus driver resignation, Jack Pelkey, bus driver retirement. Jack has been a bus driver for 7 years. Lori Pearson, custodian replacement hire, and Robert Powell, basketball coach resignation. I'm recommending approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Pat. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mindy. There is no discussion on consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to 6H, approve the future early retirement incentive MOU. Casey.
Thank you. So before you, you have a draft of a MOU with the teacher unit. It looks very similar to the one that you approved almost exactly 1 year ago. So the teacher early retirement incentive is driven largely by statute. So all of the requirements that are in the MOU are statutory. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there. And they do require that the teachers notify us by February 1. That will give us some planning time and time for seeing how that will impact the budget for next year. So in a nutshell, we have a kind of our early notice incentive for those 0 to 9. If we have 0 to 9 retirees, we normally just offer a small incentive for putting that notice in early that helps for planning. And then starting at that 10 retirements and above, there would be a more significant payment starting at $10,000. Questions?
Questions from the board?
I would just add to that, it's one of those things where language is important and the goal isn't to encourage our seasoned and experienced people to leave. This is about us knowing early so that we can plan. That's really what the function of this agreement is.
So
Moved by Pat. Do I have a second?
Second, David.
Second by David. Any discussion? I would just like to say, we've done the MOU at this time of year, every year since I've been on here, I believe. So all in about the same amount. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Casey. Moving on to 6. Okay. What am I doing?
Aye.
Aye. I crossed all of them out already. I was way ahead of myself. Moving on to I. Approve final 2022 payable 2023 levy.
Hi, guys, again. So before you have the same amount that we've talked about since September. Our levy will be going down 0.81% for next year, pay 24. So this is just our final formality that we need to do, just have you approve that amount.
So moved.
Moved by Pat. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mindy. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, Kara, just thank you and Matt for the work into this. I know it's difficult times, but yet it's nice to show the community that we're levying negatively, if you will, instead of on the positive side. So appreciate the work.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Kara. Moving on to J, adopt the resolution to combine polling places for special elections. Superintendent Gross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is something that Karen, Julie, and I have been working on, working with the city on, working with the county on to make sure we had clarity around what we can and need to do. This is a resolution that we have to pass every year, identify what our combined polling places are. Special elections are fairly rare and they're expensive. And in the case of special elections for school district, we bear the cost of those. And so what is being proposed tonight is the establishing 3 polling places, one in the Big Fork community, one in the Cohasset community, and one in the Grand Rapids community. The 3 communities that we have schools. We did some research on where voters are, what capacity looks like. Again, talking to the city, had some conversation about the Civic Center and construction and what was realistic and possible there, knowing that they're going to be down to the wire next fall. And so recommending that we identify 3 combined polling places, one at the City Hall in Cohasset, one at the Edge, and one at the library in Grand Rapids. People still have the ability to vote absentee, which is mail-in. They still have the ability to vote absentee in person, which is early voting. So if people didn't want to drive on election night, they could still request an absentee ballot and vote via mail.
Thank you.
So Matt, just for clarification on the early voting, if they wanted to vote in person, that would happen at the courthouse, correct?
It could happen there. We haven't established where those places are yet, but I think it could happen there, or it could happen in another facility.
Okay.
But they can do mail-in ballots during a special election.
They can do absentee ballots. They need to request a ballot. The difference is that in a mail-in, you get the ballots whether you're going to vote or not, right? Like it just shows up in your mailbox. If I want to vote absentee or by mail, I need to request a mail-in ballot.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
To clarify, again, thank you. This is only in the case of a special election. This is not general elections or anything of that nature.
That's correct. Yep. And, again, this really comes back to a couple conditions for us. One is the district is on the hook for the expense of this election. That includes hiring, training, paying judges. And then the second thing, and the voting machinery that you have to rent. Second is just the logistics of finding judges. I think, Mr. Marty, you were involved in election judging, and it's getting more and more difficult. If you talk to folks at the county, they'll say the same thing. It's getting more and more difficult to find election judges. And so this will help with that too.
So Madam Chair, again, just a little more clarification. We're not looking at, as a school district, to take on the task of elections. We're still going to have the county do that for us, correct?
We can decide that on a later date. We can hire the county if they're interested in that, or we can run the election ourselves. Right, Julie?
That's correct. Yes. Thank you. Have we ever historically run an election?
Yes.
We have.
Yep.
I haven't, but yes, the district, others have.
Okay, just curious.
Ben has.
I did.
You did that.
Yeah.
All right.
A lot of work.
Oh, I can imagine. All right, so do I have a motion?
So move, David.
Moved by David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ben. Any further discussion? I would just add, I think it was the last time we had to run it. We had to put an announcement out, but the county wasn't sure if we had enough judges yet. I mean, we were waiting until the very last minute as to whether or not we even had enough judges for the number of polling places we had out. So this is helpful in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we were right
both
down
for
there.
manpower and money purposes.
But the county ran that election for us.
The county
We didn't
ran-
run the election.
Yeah, but they couldn't, it was, so they were
It
trying
was-
to find the
yeah.
judges.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you are right, Pat. Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Roll call.
Oh, requires a roll call, sorry. Sorry,
I'll start with Melissa Barr,
yes.
Ted Hawkins,
Yes.
Mark Schroeder,
Yes.
Kevin Dury,
Yes.
Mindy Marion,
Yes.
and David Martin.
Yes.
Thank you for all the work that was done on that, Kara and Matt. That's a lot of work. Thank you. Moving on to K. Accept the second reading and approve the following policies. Superintendent Gross.
I'll walk through all these at one time and you can decide how you want to handle the voting, Madam Chair. 209, as we spoke about before, there's just some language and some training specifics added to that one. 210, a change was made in reference to state law regarding to school board compensation or ability to have a right to employment. I think that's statute 123B. So in line with that state law. Policy 410, there were some language changes around family and medical leave that again are consistent with the MSBA's changes. 415, some definitions were updated and some language changes in 415. 599 is a policy that's new to us relative to memorials for deceased students and staff. And again, like I spoke about last time, just having this policy in place ahead of when it's needed will help us hopefully avoid some challenging or difficult conversations at a sensitive time. So as indicated on the report, the RIFE and the EDGE have received a copy of the proposed policy, so they know that as facilities on our property that they're governed by that same policy.
All right, thank you. Just for cleanness, I think we'll take one at a time quickly. I think we can move through them fairly quickly, if that's okay. Do I have a motion on approving policy 209, Code of Ethics?
So moved, David.
Moved by David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do I have a motion for 210, conflict of interest for school board members?
So moved, David.
Moved by David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ben. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to 410, family medical leave policy.
So moved, David.
Moved by David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mindy. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to 415, mandated reporting of maltreatment of vulnerable adults. Do I have a motion?
So moved, David.
Moved by David. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Mindy. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm for it.
I got it.
Yeah.
I moved too fast. Sorry, Ben.
Too slow.
Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to the last, 599, memorials for deceased students or staff.
So moved, David.
Moved by David. Do I have a
Second.
second? Second by Pat. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, moving on to 7 partnerships. Approved independent provider application for Minnesota High School Equestrian Association. Did I say that right?
Equestrian.
Equestrian. I knew I said it wrong. Thank you.
This request is consistent with requests we've received relative to the Equestrian Association, gymnastics, things like that, where we're kind of partnering with these providers. This is not a school activity, but we recognize kind of that partnership. And the board's approved this request before and approved a gymnastics one recently and things like that. I'd recommend approval. Sorry.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mindy, second by Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to board reports. Do I have somebody volunteer to go first?
I have no reports.
Thank you, Mindy.
Just want to keep it moving.
I'll go next.
David had the opportunity to sit in the policy review and attended the RAMS meeting, and I know that Matt and Pat will be reporting on that.
All right, thank you, David.
No report.
No report. Pat?
Jeez.
It's all up to you.
A lot of the things we talked about today, the facilities, which Ben and I were at, we approved documents there. We had a fringe benefit meeting. They're still working on the health insurance bit. Labor management, nothing really exciting there going on, pretty mundane there, but Rams annual dinner was last Thursday during a snowstorm. Matt drove 40 miles an hour all the way there and all the way back. It was a good ride. But actually, it was a good meeting, annual dinner meeting. There was 260 that had signed up, and just I think it was 33 that canceled because of the weather. So there was a good showing there. The honored Senator Thomasoni for his work. As you know, he passed this past year from ALS, and Senator Bach, who chose not to run this year, was our guest speaker, and they honored him as well. And I thought he did a good job in talking about how the dynamics of politics have changed and how people look at things today. And my takeaway in his speech was, or his remarks were, is that we can't forget about the history and where we came from and the importance of that history on how we got from point A to point B. And that has been slipping a lot as we move forward here, which creates the political environment that we're in a little bit today. So I was reelected to the Rams board along with a slate of, I think it was 11 others. There will be 4 new board members coming on Rams, and I honestly don't recall who they are at this time. But anyway, it was a good meal, and it was at the new event center in Virginia, the Iron Trail Center. First time I attended there actually for an event, but well done. Food was catered by the sawmill, and they did a great job with it. So other than that, I want to wish my fellow board members a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all of our staff going forward as we end the year here. I think we started out with a good school year, ended with a good school year in 2022, and started a good fall in 22-23 school year. So looking forward to all the work that we got ahead in 2023 going forward. So I know there's going to be a lot of plates filled up, and my comment would be eat lots over the holidays. You probably need it going forward. So, anyway, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. I just had IASC, and one of the things I'd just like to talk about for a little bit is kind of what's happening with IASC, because we now have an executive director, Jackie Skelly, who's doing a great job. And Darla, of course, is now running the Invest Early side, and she's new. And we have Scott Patro, who is running the Next and Career Pathway piece. And lots of moving parts. And really what's happening is, you know, Jackie's really working in to kind of create more of a cohesive unit, right? Because now we have somebody who's dedicated to leading that full time, which we've never had before. You know, we've borrowed superintendents to help run this. So this is the first time somebody that's their role. And she's doing a great job at just establishing policies and procedures, you know, nothing super sexy. So it's like buying new windows for your house or putting a new heating system in your house. You don't see it, but it's vital and it's important to the future. And so I just want to talk a little bit about that, because I think, you know, when you're wondering what's happening with IASC, some of this is really just laying the foundation so that we can really go out and get more money from other places. And so that's, you know, Scott Patro is working to get a bigger budget for Next, which needs funding. And that's our career pathways. For those that don't know, that funding stream is running out in June. And so we are looking for funding for that program. Darla is looking at how do you sustain invest early as some of the funding is rolling out. And it's vital to a lot of communities. And so there's some pretty big pieces of work that are coming on there. And so Jackie and Darla and Scott and others are all laying the groundwork for that. One of the other pieces I'd just like to say is there's really this spirit of collaboration, cooperation that I'm seeing at IASC, and maybe it was always there before and I just wasn't close enough, but just, how can we be better together? What can we learn from each other? How do we not duplicate services? I mean, those are all questions everybody at every level is asking, and I think that's really cool. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about that as I had a chance to visit with Jackie, which was super helpful. And I'd be happy to ask any questions, and if I don't know the answer, I promise I'll find out. But I'll invite Jackie to come tell her story at some point in the near future. But I did want to share that there is a lot of work that's happening at IASC. And every day she's working at it every day. So I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add.
No, I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have Jackie come.
Yeah, and I think she'll be ready to do that after the first of the year. I think they've just been, they've been working really hard on policy and procedure. And that, as we all know, I love policy, but that takes a while. So that's about, other than that, meeting with union folks and just trying to get everything kind of up so that we're ready to go after the first of the year when contract stuff start coming down the pipeline. So that was kind of my meetings. So I will turn it over to you. And just so folks know, our two student reps, Ms. Hawkinson and Ms. Higgins, were not able to be here this evening. So, and I don't think she was joining. One of them thought they might be able to join us, but I didn't see her. So. All right, Superintendent Gross.
Pat failed to mention he served Rams as the president for the last year. I think that's worth mentioning, and well done.
Vice president stepped away, and so I was vice president. Got put into the president's role.
So I think that's worth acknowledging, and I think that's good. So we have a team that will be presenting at school board conference coming up. So we're going to just be talking about leadership and the work that we've been doing there around leadership and what that looks like and some of the shifts we've been making. And so I think that'll be exciting. Not that we've arrived, certainly not. It'll be as much about talking about the things that we've learned as we've tried to, get people more involved in leadership here. So lots to learn, lots to do there still, but want to share what we've learned so far.
So Matt, who'll be making that?
There'll be a team. We're still kind of working on who all is involved in that. I think we're ideally going to have a teacher, a principal, Anna, myself, Ryan, possibly. So maybe one other person. So
thanks for doing that.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. We just had a conversation today with principals. They've been really digging in and learning, and it's one of the things I'm really grateful for is that team and how they've dug in. We've asked them to do things that they've never done before, engage people in ways that they haven't engaged people before, do things that they're uncomfortable with. And we just talked today about how growth comes through discomfort and growth comes through strain. And so that's difficult, I think, sometimes when you're the leader and there's a perception or whether that's yourself or others that you should know all the answers, when the reality is that nobody does. And in many cases, the answers are closest to the work. And that's why these building leadership teams are important, because our teachers are really, really close to the work and they know a lot of stuff. And our ESPs are out there doing the work every day with students. And so we have to listen. And so I think we've tried to do more and more of that. And again, I think we'll talk in January about things that we've learned and things that we would do differently. But today, one of the things we discovered was sometimes our expectations of pacing and how quickly we can move through things. School rhythm gets in the way and staff shortages get in the way. And so even as Ryan and Jen and Anna and I have planned how quickly we're kind of rolling things out. We've had to reassess, and today we just talked with the principals, like, we were wrong about the pacing. It's clear you need some more time, and that's okay. So every year is different, every school building is different, every leader is different, and I think that's part of just navigating that and also modeling that it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just about progress, and it's inch by inch kind of work. But I see great things. Bruce talked today about our Orton Gillingham training. All of our teachers have been trained now. K2 teachers have been trained in that. And again, that's about phonics. That's about a specific area of reading instruction, but just really proud of that group for engaging. So that's the kind of stuff that I think is behind the scenes. We don't get to talk about much. Our community maybe is not aware of, but this is our entire K2 staff now that knows really, really, really good practices when it comes to phonics instruction. So again, back to the data we saw, it's going to pay dividends because they know new things, and they're going to do more. And we see it. I see it in classrooms. I've been in classrooms now, and I've been out visiting buildings, and I see the practices that they just learned in what they're doing with kids. So, and I hear it with the little guy at my house, how he's approaching reading from phonics. So anyway, that's fun stuff to talk about and to see. Our teacher union president and I did a new thing a week ago, and we did a joint question and answer session. And so that was fun and new and different. And I haven't gotten feedback on it yet, really. So I'm hoping she has. But we took the information or the topics that we talked about from a survey that the teacher unit had done, and certainly couldn't get through all of the things, but we tried to get through the things that were kind of brought up the most and relevant or kind of were addressable in that mode the best. And so I think it's something that we'll do again if we get good feedback. So I think that was good. And again, just trying to communicate in as many ways as we can, show that we're working together. I really don't think there's anything that we can't figure out if we keep doing that. So I think that's good for my report.
Thanks.
Unless you have questions.
Any other questions? All right, moving on to 7D, meeting announcements. And I will not read those aloud, but there are still quite a number of meetings between now and the beginning of January. And so please, I encourage you to check out the district website and also the designated person space here at the admin building for those who are interested in knowing exactly the time, date, and location for those. Any other business to come before the board? Julie, has anybody signed up for public input?
They have not.
They have not. So I am looking for an approval to go into closed session according to MS 13D3 for labor negotiation strategies. Do I have a motion?
So move, David.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, second.
And then we will go into a roll call vote to go into closed session. Julie?
Cavallari,
Yes.
Mindy Nguyen,
Yes.
David Martin.
Yes.
Melissa Barr,
Yes.
Ben Hawkins.
Yes.
And Mark Schroeder.
Yes.
Julie is going to stop the Google Meet recording, and we will disconnect from the regular meeting. And any attendees, I would ask that you step outside the boardroom, including ICTV. Do we need a different Google link? We don't, do we? We do.
For recording, we will.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So Julie will create a new Google link for a recording. Boardroom is cleared.